All right, let's dive right into a story for our times, really. It's about a world, well, a world that might feel a lot like ours, where all the old stories, the old myths, have kind of crumbled away. And because of that, a new kind of hero has to step up. This is what we're calling the Age of the Hero.
So, our story kicks off in Miss Village. And on the surface, they've got it all figured out. They're masters of steel, masters of stone, technologically brilliant. But on the inside, they're completely lost, spiritually famished. They have all the comfort in the world, but they're starving for a sense of meaning that, turns out, you just can't build with your hands or buy with money.
Okay, so what on earth went wrong here, in this place that looked so perfect? Well, it all starts with something they lost. Something huge. They lost the very myths that used to be their compass.
And this is the central puzzle, right? On one hand, you have these master builders of steel. These folks were geniuses, creating all this amazing technology that made life so easy. But in their race for progress, they tore down their old, crumbling temple. And this wasn't just a building, it was the heart of their community, the source of all their shared stories and their sense of meaning. And once it was gone, just a giant, gaping hole right in the middle of their society.
Well, you know what they say, nature can't stand a vacuum, and neither can the human spirit. Without that central temple, without that shared story, people got desperate. They started scrambling for anything to believe in. And what did they find? They found these false idols, loud, aggressive political ideologies. But here's the thing, these new beliefs didn't bring people together. Nope, they just created more division, demanding everyone think the same way and turning neighbors into enemies. It actually made the whole spiritual problem even worse. See all that conflict happening out in the open? That was really just a reflection of what was going on inside every single person. The real crisis wasn't in the village square, it was in their own hearts.
So if you were to walk through this village, everything would look great. Everyone's projecting this image of success, of happiness, but it was all just a performance. They were all wearing these beautiful golden masks to hide what was really going on underneath, all the pain, all the shame. It was like this giant play where every single actor was absolutely terrified of someone seeing who they really were. But here's the thing about masks. They never last forever, right? Sooner or later, the pressure gets to be too much. Maybe a crisis hits, or you just get too tired to keep up the act. And that mask, it starts to crack. So the big question is, what happens then? What do you find when that perfect exterior finally breaks apart? Well, behind that mask is something the source material calls the ugliest man. And let's be clear, this isn't some monster hiding in the closet. It's inside of us. It's the personification of our own shadow. All the parts of ourselves we don't like to admit are there. All the anger, the fear, the messy, chaotic desires we try to push down and ignore. The thing is, every single one of us has one. The real question isn't if you'll meet him, but what you're going to do when you finally come face to face. So now we get to a turning point. Most of the villagers, when their masks started to crack, they just tried to patch them up, or they clung even tighter to their political groups. But a few people chose a totally different way. They realized the only way out wasn't to run, but to turn and face the chaos head on. And this is the hero's journey, isn't it? It's a tale as old as time. These people literally turned their back on all the noise and distraction of the village, and they walked straight into the uncharted wilderness of their own psyche. Their mission was simple, but not easy, to find and confront the dragon of their own inner chaos, because they knew, deep down, that's where the real treasure was hidden. Now, this confrontation can go one of two ways. You have the hero, who stands their ground. They don't run from the shadow, they actually invite it in to try and understand it, to integrate it. But then you have the other path, the path of the pale criminal. This person is just completely overwhelmed by their own darkness. They act on their worst impulses, but then they don't have the strength to own up to it. They become, as the text says, a bridge that broke, crushed by the weight of a chaos they refuse to acknowledge. And it's easy to point fingers at the criminal, but it's not just them. Think about this quote. The judge and the criminal are bound by the same shadow. That's powerful. It's a reminder that even the judge, the person who represents order and virtue, is often just wearing a different kind of mask. Their righteousness can be a socially acceptable way to unleash their own resentment, their own desire for revenge, just with the law on their side. The point is, nobody gets a pass. Everyone's dealing with this. Okay, so to actually succeed in this hero's journey, you need a totally new way of looking at things, a huge shift in perspective.
You have to move away from thinking the mind is everything and start listening to a much deeper, much older source of wisdom. A big part of the village's problem was this old idea that the body is just a dirty cage, a muddy river holding back a pure spirit. The source calls people who think this way the despisers of the body. They're backworldmen who are basically denying the incredible, intuitive wisdom that speaks to us through our own bodies, the God who speaks within the blood. This way of thinking, it turns out, is a dead end.
So what's the alternative? It's this idea of the great reason. The idea is that the body isn't the enemy of the spirit. The body is the spirit. It's a mighty ruler, an unknown sage. And our conscious mind, our little reason, that's just a tool, a plaything that the body uses. Real wisdom, real guidance, that comes from learning to listen to this incredible, powerful ruler within.
Which brings us to our final section. So our hero has faced the dragon, they've learned to trust the wisdom of their body. Now what? Well, they return, but not to rebuild that old, crumbling temple. No, their job now is to build something totally new, right inside themselves. What they've done is they've mastered a kind of personal alchemy. It's like learning how to turn poison into fuel. It's a 3-step process, really. First, you have to face the abyss. You can't run from it. Second, you invite the shadow in, you integrate it. And finally, you find grace in the friction. See, it's not about getting rid of the struggle. It's about using that struggle, that friction, as the very thing that gives you strength and grace. The ultimate goal of all of this, the highest achievement on this journey, is something called amor fati. It's Latin, and it means a love of one's fate. And it's not just putting up with things. It's a deep, joyful acceptance of your entire life, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the painful, all of it. It's being able to look at everything that's happened to you and say a holy yay to it all. It's realizing that even in the muddiest parts of the abyss, you can still find wild lilies blooming. And really, that's the bottom line here. The old temple, those inherited myths we all used to share, it's gone. And you can't just rebuild it. That era is over. What's left in its place is what we're calling the age of the hero. It's an age that demands something new from every single one of us. It demands that we pick up the tools ourselves and become the architects of our own meaning. So that responsibility, but also that incredible opportunity, it falls to us now. The story leaves us with one final, powerful question aimed directly at you. In this age of the hero, in a world that is desperate for new stories, what will you build?